Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I am excited to have this guest on because he and I have been connected for a little bit now, quite a while, and we kind of got connected through a mutual buddy of ours, Jeff, and I'm really, really excited. But he's a professional bodybuilder. He's an amazing dad. He's a businessman, and I'm just dying to dive into not only him and his parenting journey, but also his backstory. My good friend Ferlan Bailey is joining me on Dad Up. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, hey. Oh man, that intro, I should be running for the Oscars. Thank
Right.
you.
Yeah, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, dude, I've been looking forward to this because like I said, we've been connected for a while now, and I know
Yes.
I follow you and see the stuff that's going on, and I know you just had a child graduate college and all that kind of stuff. So um, before we dive into all that, though, let's kind of dive into a back history because I don't know a whole lot about your story, and I want to kind of hear about your testimony, kind of how you grew up and how you got into bodybuilding and all that, and then about your family as well.
Well, I can go on because I'm a talker, I'm a rambler, but the short story, I'm just a foreigner that came to America to live his dream, man. I was born in the island of Grenada in the West Indies. My mom left when I was 5 years old to come to America to give me a better life. She went to culinary school, also went to Hofstra University. I stayed at home in Grenada with my grandmother and my grandfather, biracial family, an Irish grandfather, Vernon Alfred Bailey, and a Black West Indian grandmother, Agnes Anastasia Bailey. And I learned, Bryan, honestly, who I am as a person. I'm getting chills talking about it. I learned how to be a person, how to love humanity, how to be a family man, from my grandmother, my
Mm.
grandfather, and my mother. I saw my mother make sacrifices for me to come to this country. Got treated horribly, on the subway trains and stuff. I
Mhm.
remember her calling my grandmother, crying to my grandmother on the phone because something terrible happened to her on the subway. I remember my grandmother crying. I was young. I think I was 6 or 7. I remember these conversations. I saw how my grandfather treated people. I saw, he was a working man, Irishman. Him and his brothers, they own a funeral home. But when the cruise ship came in, he would take off his funeral home uniform and go drive taxi for the tourists. And I saw, he was an ambassador of the island of Grenada. On the weekends he'd go neuter animals and stuff like that. Even though he wasn't a licensed vet, he would go do stuff. So I just saw, and my grandmother, from just taking care of the family. I was raised by all women and one single male, my grandfather. So 7 women. Imagine that in a household, and with
Wow.
me, and I was pampered. I must say, I was pampered. I was pampered. But I think growing up, I saw how my aunts were, how they were treated by men, good or bad, and they would always tell me, "Make sure you don't treat a woman like that, or make sure you treat a woman like
Right.
that." So I think if you reach out to any of my exes, they will tell you, even though the relationship ended, I was always a good person, and we kept in touch. But as far as when people ask me, man, how are you such a great dad? Man, that's all I know. That's if it wasn't for my kids, my very first bodybuilding show, I said in my promo, I said, I'm here today. The reason why I'm alive is because of my kids. My kids saved me. There's no better feeling, and so like I said, when Jeff put me on to your podcast and it's all about dads and everything, it was right up my alley, man. So I've been glued to it ever since. But long story short, so when I came to America, my mom brought my grandma and I to America. My grandfather stayed in the islands. She made sure I went to the best schools, private schools. I played football. I came to America to play soccer, and my neighbor said, "Are you
Really?
gonna try out?" Yeah, he'd be saying, "Are you gonna try out for the football team?" I said, "Football? That's what I know." And we get there, and it was freshman year in high school
Right.
at Bishop Moore Catholic, and I see all these weird looking equipment and these net bags and these big dudes, and I was like, I look at the coach and I say, "Excuse me, coach, what is this game?" And he's like, "This is football." I said, "No, I had my shin guards on and my soccer cleats and my little high booty shorts." And he said, "No, son, this is American football." And I'm scratching my head and I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm just gonna sit this one out. Pretty much. I told him, I said, I'm gonna wait for Maurice, who's still one of my dear, dear best friends. Um, and he said, "No, why don't you run the 40?" I was like, "What is that?" and he said, run to see, to see your fast time. So first we did the mile, and it looked like I was a cool runnings person. I had no idea what the mile run was. I didn't know how long it was. They said go, and I'm blazing around the track, and they're like, coach is like writing down stuff. But by the third time around the track, I was dead. I ended up coming in dead last because I didn't know what a mile run was. But long story short, I ended up running the fastest 40 time that day. And he said, son, you're going to play football. I had no idea, Bryan, what a first down was until my junior year in high school. I thought every time you got the ball, you had to score a touchdown. So going back and looking, I'm beating the ground and everything. But long story short, so my grandma, my mom, who knew nothing about the sport. And that's the way I think I am as a parent. Whatever I was interested in, they became interested in. And they had no idea about the sport, man. But they would show up at every football game and they would put the empty gallon jug, they would put corn in it and shake it up and stuff like that. And I always had that support from my family. I'm getting chills talking about it. I always had that support from my family, and it molded me to who I am. I'm not the most successful person. I've had my flaws, but the one thing that anyone can say is I treat everybody the same with respect, and my greatest accomplishment is being a father, man. It's my kids are it's but
That's
I have
awesome.
my daughter's name. I have my daughter's volleyball number and her autograph tattooed on my arm. I say she's my favorite player of all time. And I
That's
told my
cool.
youngest, I'm like, maybe you can make the arm. He's playing
Yeah.
basketball now. And my oldest, he picked up sports for a little bit. He's more of a bookworm. He did swimming. He was really good in high school at swimming. We called him the black salmon, but he didn't want to he didn't want to go any further. But I got off track. I'm so sorry. You talk
No, it's
about
all good, man. It's all good. So you have three kids, obviously. And
yes,
yeah.
Christian, Yoshi, and Boz.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Well, hopefully your youngest makes the arm of fame, I guess you could call it, right?
Yes.
The arm of fame.
You're right.
Well, that's cool. It's interesting. You brought up something there that kind of sparked something in me, and that the way that your grandparents, the way that your aunts raised you, and the family that you had, how close they were with you and attended everything that you did and were so supportive of you, made you really the dad that you are today. And the interesting thing
Absolutely.
about that is that it could be one way or the other. It's either you had that kind of support system and that's why you are the way you are today, or you didn't have that support system. And for me, I didn't have that support system. I played sports. I was on the wrestling team. I was on the water polo team. I was on the swim team. I played all through high school, and I can count on one hand from age 5 through high school how many times my parents came to a game. And it bothered me because I had my friends' parents always there. I was riding to practices and games with my friends' parents because my parents worked. My parents worked a lot. So that was part of the issue. But
Yeah.
I knew at a very young age that when I had kids, I was going to make sure that I was always at my kids' game because it impacted me in a bad way. It made me feel
Yeah.
bad. Like,
Yeah.
parents don't understand that when your kids are playing sports, it's an extracurricular activity, something that is healthy for them, something they should do if you support it, if they're good at it and they can keep up with their grades. But when kids play sports and they're playing in these games and they look up in the stands, they don't want to see all
Oh,
the other fans. They want to see who's there to support them, whether it's a
preach
parent,
it.
a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, whatever, the cousins, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And so when they look up at the stands and they don't see anybody supporting them, it affects them internally, and it can have an everlasting effect. It did on me, and that's why I am with the way I was with my boys. My boys, as you know, are grown, 25 and 22.
Yeah.
I coached them all the way from 4 years old all the way through high school. I coached every single one of their sports that they played on.
That's
It
awesome.
was something that was important to me because I wanted to be a part of their life because I didn't have that when I grew up, and I didn't want them to not have that when they grew up. And it's interesting.
Yeah.
My younger son talks about it now. He says, when I decide to have kids, I'm going to do, I want to be their coach. I want to do this. I want to be there for that.
Right.
He's doing what you're doing. He wants to be, because he had such a huge support system. He wants to continue on and do that for his kids. So it's really
Yeah.
cool that your family had that kind of impact on you. What age did you come from the islands?
I came over when I was 13, and I was really excited because then I could watch PG-13 movies, and I yeah, I was like, man, I visited. So my mother, like I said, I knew about American life before I was even living here. My mother made sure, I think from the time she left when I was 5. So from the time I was 9 to the time I moved here, every summer my mother would send for my grandmother and we would spend about 3 weeks in New York with her. And she landed a really good job. And she lived in Manhattan. I didn't even know what Manhattan was at the time. She lived in Manhattan on the 25th floor, looking over Central Park. I think it was, yeah. And I would come visit her, and I learned a lot of, like, my friend said I have like this stupid amount of like useless knowledge. A lot of it I learned was just from watching TV.
Hmm.
People are like, oh my God, you're well read. I'm like, no, I'm well watched. So while she was at work, my grandmother and we wouldn't want to walk around the city. So my grandmother would watch soap operas. So I started off watching soap operas. And my English was really bad, just the accent, really
Right.
stiff and thin. So I taught myself how to speak from watching TV. I would sit in front of the mirror. Hey guys, come here, come here. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, so like that. And so my
You're
first
trying to
knowledge
talk
of
like a
like,
white boy. That's what you're trying to do.
yeah, I did. Well, it wasn't like this was the 80s. It wasn't like jive turkey going on still or
Right, right,
anything.
right,
It's like, but
right.
yeah. So I was fascinated with American life, man. That's why when I became a citizen, I got the American Eagle. It's kind of bright in here. The American
Oh,
Eagle
that's
tattooed on
cool.
my arm, and I have the Grenadian flag here. So it's, remember where you came from, appreciate where you are. That's my thing. But yeah, so I would sit there and watch TV and TV and TV, and then when I would go back home, she would send me VHS of and the reason why I got into bodybuilding, she sent me 3 TV shows, and we're about the same age, so you'll know these
Right.
these three. I'll go in order from three to one. The first one was Barnaby Jones.
Okay.
So I wasn't too. I'd watch it, but I was too much. Sorry, there was four. That was the fourth one. The third one was Starsky and Hutch, and
Oh,
that's what made
great
me get
show.
into cars. Oh my God, that's what made me get into cars. The second was The Fall Guy with Lee Majors.
Hmm.
I love that show. And my favorite TV show was Incredible Hulk, and I fell in love with bodybuilding at that moment.
Oh,
I fell in love with bodybuilding. Yeah. So out of those four, my two favorites were Starsky and Hutch and the Incredible Hulk. And I was always say, when I go to America, I go build muscles. I'm gonna get big muscles and dig white women. Oh, I
right.
need honeycomb syrup.
Right, right, right. I'm gonna build
So
big muscles and drive fast cars. Yeah.
yeah, and then that's what I so I built the muscles as big as God allowed me to get to. I had some injuries. I had to stop pro bodybuilding. But to this day, I drive in cars and I do a lot of car rallies. And a lot of the rallies we do for charity, for St. Jude's or a local charity and stuff. So I can still, yeah. I mean, and my son, my youngest, has gotten so into cars with me. We'll build cars together and we'll go on rallies together. I mean, usually he doesn't want to wake up for school, but if we have to leave for a rally, he's wide awake at 5 a.m., so we can jump in the car and leave the neighborhood. So yeah, it's from
So when you
13
talk
years
about
old.
cars, what kind of cars are we talking?
Right now, so I've had over 200 cars. I've counted. I'm over 200. I think I'm at
Jeez.
210 cars total from the time I started driving to now. And currently I have I don't really, yeah, but for the sake of this, I don't want to seem like I'm showing off. I have two Porsches. I have an AMG Mercedes. Those are the ones that I do on the rally.
Okay.
So yeah, it's so much fun. The car community. Cannonball Run was like the first like real movie I saw in America. And I was like, I wonder if there's a race like that. And I didn't know that community existed until years ago, a few years ago.
Oh
And
yeah, it's real.
once I got introduced to it, I'm like, oh, I still haven't done the cross country one. I have
Okay.
friends who've done the cross country. I just haven't had time between work and school. And one thing, like, if I go on a rally, this is going back to the parent thing. One of my friends asked me if I'm going to go on this rally coming up in October, and I said no. And he says, "Why?" I'm like, because I don't want to put that entire responsibility, on my son's mom to have to pick him up from school while I'm out driving around. I said I just feel irresponsible. Even if it's a few days, I just feel like if I'm late to get my kids from Carline, I feel like I feel bad. It's a weird dynamic. So
Mhm.
if the rally leaves on a Friday, it's only like one day, to to pick my son up, then I'm like, okay, I'll do it. But if it's like a 3 days I'm gone during the week, then I usually pass on those rallies because I don't want to put my responsibility, on his mom or my mom, and I just feel bad.
Right.
So,
Right. No,
but
that's good.
so the rallies
That's
I do are usually in the summer if it's a long time, or if it starts on a Friday and I'm back like Sunday evening or something like that.
That's
So
cool. That's cool. Obviously, so Incredible Hulk got you into bodybuilding. That's hysterical. I thought you were going to say Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that. I mean, come on, you got to go old school like that. But no, we
but
got to get.
that's the first. That's my first thing ever started introducing me to bodybuilding. And then I came and started reading magazines when I was in high school. I started reading magazines and stuff. But yeah, it's Incredible Hulk, man. But I love Arnold. Don't get me wrong, but the Incredible Hulk was the catalyst that led me over to
All right.
bodybuilding. Yeah,
Well,
yep.
here's an interesting question because I've had a couple bodybuilders on my show before, and I don't know that I asked this, but if your kids are they into bodybuilding or no?
I mean, no, my oldest he's into working out, but he's more of like I said, he's more of a bookworm. But he works out every now and then. And in college, he'll send me videos. I'm in the gym. And my son, my youngest, he's into basketball and boxing. But he does his pull-ups and he'll come in the kitchen and flex and
Right.
everything like that.
Right.
And my daughter played volleyball in high school. She trained a couple times, but no one's really like into bodybuilding.
Okay. All
And
right.
they
So
hate it. They hate going to my shows. It's so boring. Yeah.
yeah.
And so they're like, it's boring until you get on stage, Dad. It's so long until you get on stage. I'm like, all right.
Right,
So.
right. I get it. I get it. Yeah, my older son is he's not a bodybuilder. He's more about keeping himself like in shape. And
Absolutely. That's
I
yeah.
mean, if he could live at the gym, he probably would. If he had time
That
to
was
go
me.
two times a day at least to the gym, he would. But he's at the gym pretty. I mean, I'm gonna say out of 7 days, he's at the gym 5 or 6 days of the week, and he's there for a
Oh
while.
wow.
Like he spends an hour to an hour and a half at the
Oh
gym,
wow.
and so he really
Oh shoot.
loves working out. Really enjoys it. But for parents that maybe have kids that are starting to take up the sport of lifting weights, I've heard things about you should be careful with bodybuilding, especially
Oh,
when they're younger. But when it comes to bodybuilding, if a child wants to get into bodybuilding, what advice would you give to parents to either support them or help them along the way?
absolutely. So first off, I would have the parents like do the research with them, as far as like the ages to work out, the nutrition. Okay, son, like if my son came to me, if I wasn't into bodybuilding and my son came and said he wants to start bodybuilding, or my daughter, I would, say, okay, let's research this. Let's see how you can eat properly for your age, depending on the age. Let's see what workouts are able to do for you. If money isn't available for you to hire a trainer or someone to educate you on it, when this day and age, oh my God, you can self-educate yourself, via the internet. We would do a little research together. If I'm not into fitness, I would join the gym with him. Like you said, if it's my son, like a few months back, I picked him up from somewhere, and I've never told my kids I'm tired or like I can't do it. I have never said that to them, and luckily I'm in a position to where I didn't have to say that. I could drop
Mhm.
what I was doing. And I picked him up, and I was up late, and I picked him up, and he's like, "Thank you, Dad, for taking me." And I said, "Son, if it's important to you, it's important to me." So, and for the parents like that, if it's important to the young man or the young woman, educate them, educate yourself with, okay, I want to know what you're doing. Why are you eating that, son? Let me find out too. Let me find out A, if it's safe for you, B, what foods can you eat properly, not just throwing a bunch of junk in you. So absolutely. If the kid is interested in it, sit down and then you don't have to become like a bodybuilding savant, but just educate yourself on, okay, so you're gonna have your pre-workout meal, you're gonna have your fats here in the day, you're gonna have your carbohydrates here in the day. And man, I mean that if oh my gosh, if I would have asked my grandmother to get involved with me in bodybuilding, oh, she would have been in the gym, you
Yeah.
know. She used to, so when my first coach had eating brown rice, she would cook the pots and pots of brown rice for me, and I'd go to the house and I'd pick it up, and then take it back to my house and everything like that. And after my very first show, pre-judging is in the morning, the judging part is in the morning. I walked off stage and I embraced my grandmother. We both cried. And my one of my friends was like, "Oh, why are you crying? You haven't won anything yet." And it wasn't about that. It was about the journey. That word's a little bit overplayed these days, but my grandmother saw me a child who wanted to pursue my dream. I didn't pursue bodybuilding until I was in my 30s. I was a gym rat. Like you said, like your son, I would live in the gym if I could. High school, I'd wake up, go to the gym first thing in the morning before school, and in the afternoon, when there wasn't football season, I'd be in the gym in the afternoon with Maurice. So it's one of those things to, yeah, I'm rambling, but I'm sorry, but
No,
yeah,
it's all
it's
good. It's all good. No, I think that's
yeah,
pretty special. It doesn't journey, the word journey isn't necessarily, I guess you could say it is overused a little bit, but that's part of the process when we grow and learn things, not only as parents, but in our careers or in our business. For you, bodybuilding, I mean, that's the journey of getting to where you were, to getting into your first competition and getting up on stage for the very first time.
oh my
That
God,
was
yes.
what all that struggle was for those months or even years before that first stage appearance. That was the journey, and that's part of the process when it comes to, parenting, right? Parenting is the stage where we have to get our kids to be productive adult and members of society, and they have to be able to be nice and do things for others, and we want them to be respectful of other people and all those we want to teach them the way that to be a good human being, right? But that's not the
Yes.
journey. The journey is where they go from when they're born to that age where you set them free and release them to live a life for themselves. And that part of it is the struggle, but that's the
Yeah,
beauty of it. That's the beauty of it.
yeah.
So
That is true.
that's very,
Yeah.
very, very
We
cool. Yeah, very cool. And I think it's remarkable that, your grandmother was so supportive of you.
oh my God.
It's
Yes.
it's amazing. It really is, because it, back, especially when we were growing up, that's not often that happens. We have
Yeah.
parents and grandparents and things that have to work and all this kind of stuff. But that part of it where she is so supportive, I can guarantee you made you who you are today, for sure.
And I have no doubt. And it's a motto we always live by with her. Treat everybody as if they were someone, you
Mm,
know. It's nothing I have to force. It's just who I am. Like I'll go places with friends. They're like, man, why are you spending so much time talking to this person? I'm like, you know, they just want to talk, so I'm taking the time to talk to them. Like, But back to my grandmother. Um, a few days after she passed away, actually a few hours, maybe like less than 24 hours, she went home to the islands. She lived here with us. She went home to the islands to bury her sister who passed away. And my grandmother drank something in the water because it was a well that was broken there. We didn't know until afterwards. It caught a parasite, and she passed away at 82. Passed away
mm.
weeks later. But I always told everyone, if it wasn't for arthritis, my grandmother could have played in the WNBA at 82. She was like physically fit. But anyway, so I was spiraling here in America, trying to get my bearings together, and I didn't know what to do. And I stumbled into a tattoo shop that night. I was just driving. I wanted something to always have my grandmother with me. I don't know if you can see this. I put her name up
Yeah,
here, Agnes.
yeah, yeah.
And the tattoo artist, Michael Manfredi, who lives here in Orlando, I was, most people do like, birth and passing. And it was his recommendation. He goes, we don't need to write passing. We need to write when she was born. So it has a birth date is on there,
Mm.
12/5/1931. And yeah, it's just that's my grandmother. She was like you said, like how you were with your kids. My grandmother, it doesn't matter if I said I want to pick up like collecting ants. She would sit outside and watch me. Catch that ant right there. Get that one. That's how my
Right.
grandmother was. So it just, yeah,
That's
it's
cool. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, because you and I share something very similar in that your son just graduated college, and it's awesome, because my son just graduated college as well. My younger son just graduated
congrats.
about a month ago or so, a few weeks ago. So congratulations to you. But let's talk about that.
Likewise.
Thank you. How about that journey of getting your child? You had two in college at the time, but now
Yeah.
just one, right? So now just one's in
It's one.
college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Miyoshi.
let's talk about that journey, because I got to say it's something that is remarkable to have a child graduate from a college and about to go off and start their career. How was that
Yeah.
emotion
It's
for you guys?
it was very, very like just seeing, you go back and like, man, I remember holding you up as a baby like this,
Yeah.
to then in high school, and you said you knew what you wanted to do. He wanted to be a nurse from like early in high school. He's like, I want to be a nurse, I want to blah blah blah. And he knew what he wanted to do. And he was this close to making it into West Point.
Oh,
He was that close. Yes. So quick backstory with that. And I mean, I was looking at West Point dad frames for my license plate and stuff like that. They came to the house, they interviewed him. That's how close he got. And he was supposed to take a visit up there, I believe the March 21st to the 22nd of 2020. And that's when COVID happened.
hmm.
And I mean, his clothes were bought, the winter clothes, and this jacket was bought, everything to go take the visit because it was still cold. And he got the email that the trip was canceled because of COVID and everything. And then the final selection was in April, I believe,
Mm.
April or May. But I honestly believe if they would have met him, that he would have been selected. So then in April, he didn't get accepted. They said, blah 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 blah. You were this close, but I'm sorry, we didn't select you this year. So then he accepted his scholarship at University of Miami. He had two scholarships waiting for him, Florida State and University of Miami, and he took the University of Miami. Well, fast forward, so then he started in the summer. Late August in 2020, he calls me, he's like, Dad, West Point wants me to reapply. I was like, but he's like, he was already a month or 2 months in. He's like, no, I like it here because we brought him in the summer. He's like, I like it here, and he's like, this is working out the way it's supposed to work out and stuff. So yeah, he loved the Miami life. Yeah,
Oh,
as
it's
what kid wouldn't.
right.
But there's one regret about college. He said he wished he would have went to a college town because Miami, Coral Gables, glitz and glamour.
Right.
So he said the only thing he wished he would have went to a college town, which is Florida State, more
Yeah.
like smaller. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's so proud of just seeing him. Like I'm sitting there. So the Thursday was nursing school pinning, nursing school graduation, and Friday was the actual university graduation. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just quiet, and I'm like, man, A, where's the time gone? We always
Right.
say that.
Right.
And B, I'm like, he's doing everything he said he would. Like he set
Right.
his mind out to. That's one thing about my kids. Like I don't, I gotta attribute, I don't know what, but I'm just, I'm a lucky parent. I'm a lucky parent as far as my kids' mannerisms. They've never been in trouble. They're just great kids. So it was emotional, and I was just like, man, and then the drive back from Miami because he stayed down there and he came up a few days after with his girlfriend. It's a drive home. I was just like, just thinking like, man, this is this is crazy. This is
Hmm.
it's surreal.
Right.
Like first, like you brought a life into this world, and then you see that life flourish, and then you think back, I hope I was the best dad I could be.
Yep.
And it's just you know and he's a little, he's very quiet, very so I'm more like, "Rah!" and, and,
Right.
and,
Right. Right.
and
Well, that's
my
okay.
daughter's more like me. We're the outgoing ones, like
Right. Well, that's
so
cool.
it's just
I think it's amazing. I think it's really great. And you know what? Our kids don't have to grow up to be like us.
no.
That's
We
not
always tell them
really.
to be better. We
Yes,
tell them
we
to be
want them
better
to
than
be
us.
better than us. And clearly, your son has got some things in mind that he wants to achieve, and he's achieving those right
Yep.
now. And that's a testament to the kind of dad that you are and the leader that you are, not only for him but for your other two kids as well. So
Right.
it's such an amazing testament to you guys for doing that. Ferlan, I want to ask you though, as we cut down our time here, if my listeners or viewers wanted to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, what's the best place for them to do that?
Instagram. My Instagram is Ferlan Bailey, IFBB Pro. I also share a business, Get Fueled Meals, with my partner Jennifer Sweeney. So that's Get Fueled Meals. It's at Get Fueled Meals. Um, and I'm also a nutrition coach with Natalia Coelho. She won the Miss Olympia in 2022, lost her crown 2023. We're gonna get it back this year. We do at Team Pros at Work. So yeah, Ferlan Bailey, at Ferlan Bailey IFBB Pro on Instagram, or get fueled meals at Get Fueled Meals. So yeah,
Cool.
it's if you just want to talk, and if you want to buy food, fine. If you want some diet and nutrition coaching, fine. If you want to talk cars, fine.
Well, I may be reaching out to you for some of that stuff myself. So that's awesome. Ferlan,
Absolutely.
it's been an amazing ride for you, and I'm really excited to continue our friendship and and hopefully
Absolutely.
one of these days we'll get to meet each other in person, maybe break some bread together. But
I got Disney tickets.
huh?
I got Disney tickets if you
You
need
got
them.
Disney tickets. All right. All right.
Well, you're on the other side. You have Disney there too. So yeah.
Right, right. But listen, man, thank you very much for being on. I really, really appreciate you and
Okay.
appreciate the journey that you're on, not only as a dad, but as a businessman and taking care of our, the human body. It's so important. So thank you very much for being on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bryan. It's been an honor. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, this has been another awesome episode of Dad Up with my good friend Ferlan Bailey. If you guys want to check him out, you can check out the show links, the notes in the show links there. They'll have his Instagram and his website and all that. But as always, if you're not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you do that so you don't miss any of the awesome guests like Ferlan Bailey. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode of Dad Up. Wow. Another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at Dad Up Podcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.